Could you imagine a life without internet? Well, if you're less than 20 years old, you probably can't, because nowadays, whether we like it or not, our everyday lives depend on internet connection and social media acceptance. All of these started in the late 20th century with the discovery of wireless connections and smartphones. Humans have always been in need of communicate with each other. At first, it wasn't as simple, until instant communication was invented in 1876. Now, with all these smartphones and a lot of people addicted to them, communication is as simple as a couple clicks. Next, Mark Jobs, a specialist in communication and wireless networks, will talk about the origins of these problems.
Internet was not invented in one day. It took several inventions and other technologies, which were built on later to finally get what we know today. It all started in 1958 when modem, which means modulate, demulate, was invented by Bell Labs. This was able to translate data when two computers shared it. Then came in packet switching by Leonard Clacrook in 1961. He found a way to transport data faster by breaking it down into smaller packets.
Packet switching was an essential concept for developing the internet. We have its creator as our guest.
Well, I invented packet switching in 1961 when I described it in my doctoral thesis about queuing theory. This concept helped develop nets which allowed them to communicate their researches amongst their computers, and therefore they had easy access to new knowledge and information that helped them to enrich their research.
These last technologies served as a base for what we call foundation networks. These were primitive networks developed by different institutions, each adding and improving to the networking process.
Well, the first network was ARPANET, in which I participated, which was created in 1966. It was proposed by the Defense Department to fight new Russian tech by allowing scientific institutions to exchange large amounts of data. Then it came the National Physical Laboratory Net from England. They were the first ones to use data packaging. These two are the networks which have more importance and influence in current internet. They help to set the basics of communication, and the institutions that found them were the ones that kept them researching and developing this communication media. Some years after, during the early 70s, our colleagues in France created the Cyclades network. They, however, focused on creating several sub-networks that work independently.
Now, we're moving with John Davidson, an expert in the IMP network. This network is the one that since 1969 has served us for sending data packets from place to place. The interface message processor was the first packet router node that was used by the ARPANET. This technology sent and received the packets of information and transferred them into their destination. This later on became the routers that internet use nowadays. Using this node in the year 1969 as well, the first data packets were sent between connected computers at UCLA on October 29th. The network kept growing every time. It had 23 hosts by 1972. Up next, out with Maxwell Tesla, one of the men who actually allowed us to connect to the internet thanks to the very special network coding that he invented in the TCP/IP.
Well, TCP/IP is the common protocol used by all computers connected to the internet so that they can communicate with each other. The Internet Protocol IP and Transmission Protocol TCP was initially developed in 1973, sponsored by the Agency of Advanced Research Programs ARPA of the United States Department of Defense, called ARPANET, that connected computer networks of several universities and research laboratories. This for connecting all of them as one in order to transmit all the information between their bases. Later on, several networks started adopting this protocol for data transmission, making it almost universal.
After we were able to connect the computers to the internet, Albert Sennheiser developed the NSFNet, a network that will allow us to have an interconnection between all computers, therefore creating a faster communication process.
The National Science Foundation Network was created by the American government in order to develop the research and education of the communications, in order to connect supercomputers, in addition to regional networks. So in more basic words, this was the internet base used in 1987. It grew rapidly and reached almost 25 countries by 1989.
All of these led to the creation of the World Wide Web, or WWW, which is a network system that allows us to access all the media, documents, etc. on the internet.
Developed between 1989 and 1990s by Tim Berners with the help of Robert Calliope when they were working on CERN, which is the European Organization of Nuclear Investigation. It uses the prior developed TCP/IP protocol and joins elements from ARPANET and NSFNet. After creating the communication system, we wanted to apply this CERN, but then he realized that it could be really applied for all the world. In 1990s, he and Robert Calliope proposed to use a hypertext to link and access information. And in December of that year, Tim created the first website. This was published on the news in 1991. This was the moment when the World Wide Web was created, and it had connections to many places in the world. It has kept growing since then, and it has given us all the advantages we already know.
So, this was a brief explanation of the history of the internet that has been an elemental tool in our lives, facilitating the way we live in every aspect. The way we work, making it much easier to do tasks and much more comfortable. The way we socialize and communicate, having many social media pages in which we can communicate with friends, publish videos in your own profile, or sharing some pictures of your incredible trip, and that even in the bank, now you can do transactions in your own computer or even smartphone without any sort of problem. So everything now is connected to the internet, and that is the reason we nowadays couldn't live without it, because it has become an important part of our lives and we got used to its technology.